would you feel if you downloaded an app to keep you safe while dating? And then that app had a data breach and your personal information was out on the internet for everyone to see.
That sounds pretty terrible as you put it.
Well, there's a lot of women that have found themselves in that scenario because of the T app. Thanks for joining me for this episode of Leading Change. My name is Emma Roloff, and in these episodes of Change in the Wild, I take a look at current events and how they relate back to the world of digital transformation, emerging technologies, leadership, and change management. And in this episode, we're going to be diving into the data breach that the app T recently had. If you're enjoying our content, consider subscribing to our channel, giving this video a like, and dropping a comment. We personally respond to every comment that we get because we enjoy having a conversation with you. For those of you that aren't familiar with it, the T app is marketed as a women's only dating app meant to help keep women safe from men that might be positioning themselves less than honestly on the dating scene.
That seems like a good thing.
So it includes things like reverse image searches to be able to catch men who might be catfishing, and being able to do things like phone number lookups to check for hidden marriages or implement background checks to make sure that men that you might be going out on a date with don't have criminal records. This app has had quite the amount of scrutiny because the women that were downloading this app would verify that they were who they said they were with selfies, pictures of their driver's licenses, and other verification mechanisms. But when they were posting on the app, they could remain anonymous, while the men that they might be posting about didn't have the opportunity to fact check what was going on or stay anonymous at all, obviously by the basis of what this app was meant to do.
Something seems off about this whole situation.
And it became so popular that it was actually seated in the #1 spot in the App Store because it had recently gone viral and tons of women were downloading this app. But what recently happened is a data breach, and there's a lot of conversation surrounding how and why that data breach took place. And unfortunately, a lot of these women who are using this app to stay safe now have their location out on the internet.
Ooh, that can't be good.
The app released a statement saying that hackers gained access to 72,000 images. And that number includes 13,000 selfies and photo IDs submitted for account verification, as well as 59,000 images from posts, comments, and direct messages, the company said. They did say that no email addresses or phone numbers were exposed, but again, understanding that pictures of people's driver's license were put out onto the internet, a lot of these women were put into compromising positions. So much so that people have taken this data and created interactive maps that pinpoint where some of these women live in this turn of kind of like vigilante justice for the fact that they were out on the internet posting information about men.
Anyone who's ever used the T app just got their identity exposed. Hackers leaked over 72,000 images, including photo IDs. And someone even made an interactive map of where all of the users were.
So understandably, this is making a lot of people feel really unsafe. And there are some questions surrounding the architecture of the platform itself and what ended up happening. The official statement from T said that a legacy data storage system was compromised. And from what I've seen with other sources, it was an old staging environment that they had actual production data in. And that production data was not password protected, nor was it encrypted. So someone was able to go into that and access information of users who were using the app before February of 2024. So this wouldn't impact everybody who was on the app, but it sounds like a pretty substantial amount of women had their data leaked.
Yeah, that's not good.
Now, a lot of the questions that are coming out and swirling around this is whether or not this data breach was preventable. And there's a lot of conversation surrounding whether or not the app was developed using vibe coding. So vibe coding is the process of using artificial intelligence to develop software platforms for you or solutions based off of natural language. So you are prompting using language to develop an app with code that AI creates for you. A lot of people are pointing their finger at vibe coding as the issue for why this happened, saying if you had a developer who knew security protocols and what was understood as standard operating procedure for applications, this wouldn't have happened. And they're using it as a cautionary tale to tell people to be weary of solutions or apps that are vibe coded and going out onto the market. Now, I've also seen some other sources saying, no, this was lack of security tied to an old legacy staging environment and was definitely preventable, but not because of vibe coding. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on where you think this might have gone awry, if we need to be worried about vibe coding, or if this was simply just bad data practices from an application. But either way, it does open up the question for a lot of people about where are you putting your data? What is the security surrounding your data? And what are you opening yourself up to if there are massive oversights from an application or a software company like we've seen in this situation? So chime in the comments below and let me know your thoughts. And tell me how you would feel if you were in this situation where you were seeking safety on a dating app and suddenly ended up the victim of a data breach. Thanks for joining us for this episode of Leading Change. If you like what you saw, be sure to come back on a weekly basis and subscribe for more expert interviews focused on digital transformation, change management, and emerging technologies.